Hello all. So this is the second installment of the Tarkir Dragonstorm Collector Booster break-in. As you can see, we got her sealed up nice and tight. We're going to be cracking this open as the second one and see how we do, not only towards it, but from the first one as well. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Now we have a Tersa Light Shatterer. This is an Orc Wizard that's a 2 generic, 1 red, haste 3/3. Haste allows you to attack right away. And when this enters, you can discard up to 2 cards and then draw that many. And then whenever she attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, exile a card at random from your graveyard and you can play it this turn. Not bad at all. You can play a lot of good stuff with this guy. Alright, next up we have a Will of Timur. Nice borderless. Borderless is always my favorite arts, no matter what. And this is a sorcery that costs 5 generic, 1 blue, and you can choose one. If you control your commander as you cast this spell, you may choose both instead. You can choose to either create a token that's a copy of target permanent, except it's a 4/4 dragon creature with flying in addition to its other types, or target player draws cards equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. If you're running this in a dragon deck, it might just be 7 cards that you're drawing off of that. Gotta love those lands. Gotta love those lands. Alright, now look at that. Pulled the commander. This boy right here I'm having a lot of fun with. I think I'm gonna keep him dragon casual. Because I don't know how casual dragons can be, but I call it casual. But yeah, Ureni of the Unwritten. He is a spirit dragon. He costs 1 billion mana, four generic, a green, a blue, and a red, for a flying trample 7/7. Really big boy. He is, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun with him. But then also, when he enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon card from among them onto the battlefield, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Like this ability, man, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun with him, making copies of him, giving him haste, just having a big board state. Having a lot of fun with him. Next we have that's one of those cards right there. That is one of those cards right there that just oh my word. Ugin, Eye of the Storms. Look at that beautiful art. I'm not even sure if this is an alternate art. Like this looks phenomenal. I am needless to say, I am over the moon about this pull. I resigned myself to not be getting this, and for me to be getting like seemingly a I don't even know what to say. Like this is like what, a minimum $150 card. Like this, like okay, I don't think this is a Halo foil. I had to do a little quick research on that. Sorry about the delay. This is just the showcase. I'm sorry. I haven't even talked about what this is. So this is Ugin, Eye of the Storms. He's a legendary planeswalker, Ugin. He is a 7 generic cost. He starts off with a loyalty of 7. And for planeswalkers, they don't have any power, they just have a loyalty amount. And so if this ever gets reduced to 0, they die. They go to the graveyard just like any other permanent, or any other card. But he does have abilities that can plus or minus his own loyalty, let alone if creatures want to attack him or you want to deal direct damage to him, you do have to specify. You can't just deal damage to him when attacking the player, you have to choose to attack this planeswalker. But his ability, his static abilities are: when you cast this spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. So colorless spells are the only thing that can't exile. From there, whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. So when you cast this spell, you get to exile a permanent with 1 or more colors. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, from here on out, you get to do the same thing. Like, that's just for him being on the field. Like, nothing else. Because he also has a +2 ability, so that would increase him to 9. You gain 3 life and draw a card. Nothing wrong with that. Even gaining nothing, or not adding anything, his 0 cost ability is 3 additional colorless mana. That is what that symbol means. And you can use that on any kind of converted mana cost. You just can't use it on those colored costs. And then its -11 is search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards. Exile them, then shuffle. Search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards. Because lands are all colorless, but any number of colorless non-land cards. And that says cards, it doesn't say creatures or permanents. Then you get to exile them, shuffle your library, and then until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. Just want to throw this out there. There are a lot of colorless spells that cost 0 to cast and give you mana. Being able to search for any and all of them to then play out a Blightsteel Colossus for all that matters. Like this. This is something. This is something right there. I have no words. Getting the showcase, getting a foil showcase, and that's how you crack packs. That's how you crack packs. Man, that's too wild. But yeah, we also got, this nice little token, this thing. All right, move on to the next one. Next up, we have a Broodcaller Scourge. This is a 5 generic green cost flying dragon. That's a 5/7. And whenever one or more dragons you control deal combat damage to a player, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that damage from your hand onto the battlefield. It's a lot right there. But the best part about this is the fact that you can get triggers per player. And when it comes to the combat damage that's being dealt, it does have to be specific to the total amount that player gets. So if you have 2 3/3s that are swinging at one player, that's 1/6 mana or less permanents that you can put onto the battlefield. So keep that in mind. Expensive, sure, but worth it. Definitely worth it. Alright, we got a Verdant Again, this is one of those cards. This is one of those cards where you're just like, yeah, if I get it, that'd be awesome. But like, I'm not gonna get it. This is one of those fetch lands. You tap it to pay a life, search your library for a swamp or forest card, and put it into the battlefield. Put it in there however it feels like getting in there. That's and the low price of 1 mana. Like that's awesome. This, like, fetch lands in general are just, you can't beat them. You can't beat them. That's a great pull. That's a great pull. Next week. Just in my last video, I got a Mox Jasper as well. I don't know what kind of luck I'm experiencing. But I will take it. I will absolutely take it. I'm getting all the luck. Thank you. That is awesome. But this is a Mox Jasper. It's a 0 cost legendary artifact. It also taps for 1 mana of any color, but activated only if you control a dragon. That is too dope. That is too dope. Alright, on to the next one. This is, so like, I don't think that this is like, not too many people care about this, but I'm actually a huge fan of this. This was one of those like pet project type cards that I wanted to get. If I wasn't getting it out of these, then I was going to be buying it as a single. Shiko and Narset Unified. This human spirit dragon is a 1 generic Jeskai, which is that blue, red, white cost. It's a flying vigilance 4/4 that has flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy that spell if it targets a permanent or player. You may choose new targets for the copy, and if you don't copy a spell this way, draw a card. The fact that you are guaranteed to get value out of it, and even if you just so happen to be casting a second spell that doesn't target anything, you still get the value. You never miss out. You never miss out with this, and mind you, I might not be doing this as a commander itself, but putting this in some of my other Spellslinger decks, like this is nice. Super excited. This flipped over card, this magmatic Hellkite. This dragon is a 2 generic red cost for a flying 4/5, and when it enters, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Its controller searches their library for a basic land, puts it onto the battlefield tapped with a stun counter on it. So you not only get rid of a fancy land of theirs, you give them only a basic, and it's not going to untap their next turn. This only in red. Only in red can you have that kind of salt throw in. Alright. Next we have an all-out assault. This is an enchantment that costs 2 generic and Mardu colors. That's that red, white, and black. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and have death touch. Do you need more? Oh, you need more? Then how about when this enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. And when you next attack this turn, untap each creature you control. Wild. Wildly good card. Wildly good card. have Tival's Judgment. This enchantment is a 2 generic, 1 black, and whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn of these 3 options: to draw a card, to create a treasure, or create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. Honestly, that's good value. That's good value, especially for any deck that's going to be churning through that graveyard. That's a nice card. All right, next up we have Herd Heirloom. That art looks so dope. This is an artifact that is 1 generic, 1 green, and you tap it to add 1 mana of any color and spend this mana only to cast creature spells. You can also tap this, and until end of turn, target creature you control with power 4 or greater gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This is almost an auto include for my mono green deck. I'm not sure what I'm going to take out, but I think I'm going to find something. That's a really nice card. Alright, next up we have Codis, the Fang Keeper. This guy is he's this is a good one. This zombie warrior is a 1 generic black, green, blue cost for an indestructible 2/1, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. And then you may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their cost. If you can pump him, if you can like this is gonna afford you a lot of ability to cast a lot of things, especially from your opponents, instead of having to use your own stuff. You don't want to use your own stuff. This is gonna be a really nice one. Possibly even a new commander of mine. We'll see. Next up is, look at that art. Like that, man, that looks so nice. Like, I love what they did with the lands in this set. So we got a Rock Curse Rakshasa. This demon is a 1 generic, 1 black, trample, 5/5. Yeah, pretty cheap, right? The reason is because it has Decayed. This creature can't block, and when it attacks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. So that is why it's one of those glass cannon type cards. But it also has Renew, which is X and black. You exile this card from your graveyard. Put a Decayed counter on each of X target creatures. They don't have to be yours. In fact, you don't want them to be yours unless you want death triggers. And if you can give all of your opponent's creatures Decayed, then that means they have one chance to swing, and that's it. This is people are gonna sleep on this one. This is a nice card. This is a nice card. Alright, next up we have a Thundermane Dragon. This dragon is a 3 generic 1 red for a flying 4/4. You get to look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creature spells with power 4 or greater from the top of your library. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste until end turn. Cannot understate how nice this can be. Generally speaking, you only really get that kind of effect in green, and in red you usually get some kind of downfall of that type of effect. This is really nice. This is really nice. It does have the requirement of pretty big creatures, but at the same time, more information at minimum. Nice card. Next up, we have a Rock Curse Rakshasa. That last guy, and like I said, pretty glass cannon-y, but having that ability to make everyone else a glass cannon, really good card. Really nice pull. Alright, last but not least, we have a Herd Heirloom. This guy is that mana rock where you can tap it for a mana of any color, only to cast creature spells, however. But to that point, you can also tap it, and until end of turn, target creature you control with power 4 or greater gains trample. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This is a really nice green spell. I think it's going to be going in most of mine at least. Next up, every time, gotta show him love. Alright, next up, Within Range. Look at that art. This enchantment is a 3 generic, 1 black. When it enters, you create 2 1/1 red warrior creature tokens, and whenever you attack, each opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures attacking them. Mardu Beatdown is what this whole block is about. I just realized. It has nothing to do with dragons. It has everything to do with some Mardu Beatdown. That's a phenomenal card right there. Alright, next up, we have a Dragonfire Blade. This is a 1-cost artifact equipment, and when you equip it to a creature, it gets +2/+2 and hexproof from monocolored, which is most of interaction spells, which is very nice, and especially with this second ability, Equip 4, generic. However, this ability costs 1 less to activate for each color of the creature its target. So anything that you're equipping with this, it costs that much less if it's any colors. If it's 1, it's down to a 3. If it's 4 colors, then this is just a free equip. That is really nice. Really nice. Oh, and then we got another flipped over, and look at that. We got a Clarion Conqueror in the alternate arts. That is alternate border, like that's beautiful. This is one of those where you want to shut people down, you want to slow the game up, right here. And it might be a little bit more expensive than the collector oof, but it's in white, which is amazing. Yeah, it's a 2 generic, 1 white, flying 3/3 dragon. Activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. That is real nice. Call of the Spirit Dragons. This is this is another one of those. This is another one of those hitters. This enchantment costs Wooburg, and that is the color combination of all 5 colors. That's plains, island, swamp, mountain, and forest. And its very first ability is dragons you control have indestructible. First ability. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, for each color, put a 1/1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. If you put a 1/1 counter on 5 dragons this way, you win the game. I might need to check some rules text, and I might even just toss it right over there. But I believe if you have something like the Dragon or Tiamat's, and this is in your field and that's in your field, you just win the game. This is solid card. Great pull. Great pull. All right, next up we have Caldera Pyremaw. This dragon looks amazing. That borderless art. He is a 3 generic red cost for a flying 3/3. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, and then this creature deals damage equal to its power to target opponents. So when you're talking about a spell slinger, being able to buff him and shoot people simply because of the fact that you're casting your instants and sorceries, real nice card. Next, look at that. Look at that right there. Man, the art on these Dragon Eye lands are amazing. Alright, next is the Winter Night Stories. This sorcery costs 2 generic and 1 blue to draw 3 cards. Discard 2 unless you discard a creature card. And that harmonized, not half bad. Being able to do 1 blue mana to draw 3 cards and discard 2, possibly only discard 1. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Alright, next we have Steward of the Harvest. This human druid costs 3 generic and 1 green, and when this creature enters, exile up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard. Creatures you control have all activated abilities of all lands exiled with this creature, and it's a 3/3. That's interesting. Like, this is... because the first thing that comes to my mind is Gaia's Cradle. If you happen to just toss it in your bin for XYZ reason, then all your creatures can be Gaia's Cradles. That's... This might be a slept-on card right here, because I didn't know about this one. This is a nice one. Alright, next up we have Smile at Death. That... I can't say enough good things about the art of this block. Cannot say enough. But this enchantment costs 3 generic whites, and at the beginning of your upkeep, turn up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on each of those creatures. And anything that you're talking about, tokens or generators or even Plagon big toughness type decks like this is gonna sneak out more than you think. This is gonna sneak out more than you think. Next up we have... look at that. I think this might be my favorite one out of all 5. And I just realized I think I got all 5. That's so dope. Man, that looks so nice. Alright, next up we have Voracious Bibliophile. This dragon costs 3 generic and 1 blue for a flying vigilance 3/3, and whenever you cast a spell with 1 or more targets, draw that many cards. Draw that many. So if you have 3 targets, you're drawing 3 cards. That is nice. That is a nice one right there. Alright, on to the next, and look at that. The Mardu Siegebreaker. This is another one of those where pet project of mine, like wanted to get the single, and look at this. I have it in the alternate art and everything like that. That looks amazing. Its cost is 1 generic and Mardu colors, the red, white, and black. For this human warrior, that's a 4/4 with death touch and haste. So if it has death touch, that means any damage it deals to a creature destroys it. And it has haste, so it gets to attack on the first time it comes into the field. And when this creature enters, exile up to 1 target other creature you control until this creature leaves the battlefield. And when this creature attacks, for each opponent, create a tapped token that's a copy of the exiled card attacking that opponent. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice those tokens. That is effectively giving Myriad to anything that you choose to exile in the first place. Like, can't be understated how nice that can be. Mardu gang. Alright, down to the last. That is that is amazing. This is Elspeth, Storm Slayer. Slayer, sorry. Just great. I'm having great luck. I'm having really great luck. So this is a planeswalker. She costs 3 generic, white, and she comes out with 5 loyalty. And then her base ability is if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created. So her first ability that pluses her by 1 creates a 1/1 white soldier creature token. It actually creates 2 because of her own ability. And then her 0 is put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and those creatures gain flying until your next turn. So even if you don't attack with them, they still have flying. Her neg 3 is destroy target creature and opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. That encompasses a lot of creatures. Like this is a top flight planeswalker for this block. Top flight. So lucky for this. Alright. Last but not least, look at that. I liked him so much that I needed a foil version. That is awesome. That is awesome right there. And then we got the dragon and the warrior. Hey, and once again, you guys, thank you for enjoying the content. Thank you for watching all of this through. Definitely had some nice pulls, and looking forward to doing more with the super casual name behind it. All right, you all have a good one. Peace.